We're on? Okay. Thank you very much. It is 6:15 and I'd like to call the April 24th, 2025 work session of the Staunton City Council to order. I will now entertain a motion to approve the work session and regular meeting agendas.
Mayor
Yeah.
Edwards,
Yes, ma'am. Counselor Woods.
I move to approve the work session and regular meeting agendas as presented.
Thank you, Counselor Woods. Is there a second? And any further discussion? No. All right, Mr. Kesker, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholtzer,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell. Aye. Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood.
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Kesker. That takes us to item 2, a presentation of Central Shenandoah Health District 2024 Annual Report. Ms. Beauregard.
Yes, we have Dr. Allison Baracco here this evening. She is the Health District Director, and she's here to talk about their 2024 annual report and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Is this volume good? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I know in your packet, you received the full, it's a prettier color version than what I have in my hand here of the annual report. And I did not create slides because I think it's very comprehensive, but happy to provide any more details you want. But as far as key points that I'd like to discuss with you tonight of the 2024 plan, this plan, now we're approaching May of 2025, and this outlines all of the activity that happened in 2024, a year that was post-pandemic and also pretty stable from a funding standpoint. During that year, we had over $3 million of grants, mostly federal grants, and unfortunately, we had some abrupt discontinuation of the COVID-related grants that did impact our district March of this year. With that, we did lose 12 of our contract staff. About half of them were involved in population health work as community health workers, and the other half in epidemiologic work for like respiratory viruses. They were doing a lot of outreach and infection prevention and education in our long-term care setting. So we are adjusting and adapting from that change. And that's reflected, that the funding that's reflected in the 2024 packet is similar to what was in 2023, but we obviously will have a change in our next annual report. If we see additional funding cuts, which we do have concerns about that, we may need to reach out to all of our local governances and discuss how to maintain essential services for the health department. I can say we have not seen any essential functions be disrupted thus far. As I mentioned, we are adjusting and shifting and changing what we're doing and working with our partners, but we certainly will remain transparent if that becomes the case. Now, working through the packet to provide some assurance in environmental health and in women, infant, and children services, we had a very stable year in 2024 in the city of Staunton. There were, as far as food safety is concerned, like thinking about all your restaurants and food trucks, there were 146 permits and 166 inspections issued that year, which is stable from the previous year. And our clinical services remain stable as well, as we had 2,128 office visits. In addition to that, things that you may hear about, the Virginia Department of Health is involved in back to school immunizations and providing some of those immunizations in the schools. So then parents don't have to go see a medical provider to get them those essential vaccinations. In our epidemiologic department, I mentioned the funding changes, but we have a small and mighty department. And along with those changes, about the same time, our reporting definitions for some of the respiratory viruses did change, and some of them were lifted. So we're mostly working as far as respiratory viruses, looking at outbreaks. But then there are other communicable diseases that we track every single one. Now, we have seen nationwide and in this community, a slow increase in our vaccine preventable diseases, things like as simple as chickenpox, which is varicella, pertussis, which is whooping cough. Those things are slowly increasing nationwide and in fact here too. And I'm sure everyone saw in the news the measles case in Northern Virginia. I've been saying for a long time that's a when, not an if situation for this community. So we have been working with partners trying to, as far as preparedness, to make sure we are prepared as a community when a measles outbreak comes to Central Shenandoah. As far as the department most affected by the funding, in the packet, you can see our population health service line and what they have been performing in the past year. In 2024, there were 650 referrals and 450 clients assisted in our community care. The community health workers make connections to services like housing, food, rent, utility assistance, medication assistance, connection to social services. And they are at a lot of our community outreach events. They were at 136 this past calendar year. So there will definitely be changes as far as how we are doing our population health or our community outreach over the next year. Harm reduction efforts remain strong. The
Can I
state
interrupt
health.
for just a second?
Oh, sure.
I was wondering if you mind if you have a page reference for the things that you're talking about. We could follow along in your.
Oh, I'm sorry. Absolutely. So when we talk about, I am all the way up to page. Oh, goodness. Okay, so sorry about that. Page 14 is population health. And our harm reduction services, I want to make you all aware that statewide, we've seen a decrease in overdose deaths. And it's as a state health department, it's something Virginia is quite proud of in the realm of the harm reduction efforts. And we partner with multiple community members in harm reduction. So we still have our harm reduction educator as well as a maternal child health educator and have been working with as far as opioid abatement funds. We've been working with key stakeholders and hoping to partner in some of those efforts that will be coming to the community. Right. So moving forward and thinking about positive things as a health department as a whole, we are using this time to do continuity planning. We have always had a continuity of operations plan, but in the setting of these funding changes, this gives us an opportunity to really look at our services and look at the essential services to maintain what we're required to do by the Code of Virginia, as well as what's making, doing the best for our community. We also are working on a strategic plan for 2026 through 2029. One exciting positive thing that's happened recently is that we have a mobile clinic that is now officially up and running and has been out in the community, and I hope you see it more. It is going to be utilized by the health department as well as partners to bring care to the people where they are at. And that's a very popular movement in healthcare as far as mobile units and getting patients that don't normally seek healthcare in the door. And so my team, my leadership team, I have a very strong leadership team. They asked me to share some news with you tonight. It's my news, but we want to make sure you feel like you have continuity and there's a smooth transition. I'm working with Virginia Department of Health, and as of tomorrow, I'll be moving into a role as a medical officer where I'm going to be pairing up with 3 health districts, including this one, hopefully for forever, especially if we identify a non-physician health director. But I'm going to be moving into more of a medical role with health departments, and it's a nice dyad, and the model looks really nice. So I want you to know I'm still part of this community. I'm not moving. I'm dedicated, and I'll be the acting health director until we identify the best new person.
Well, congratulations on that
Thank
new
you.
position. That's great news. I'm
Thank
glad you're going to be still here.
And if you have any people, masters of public health or equivalent, that are seeking roles, that if you know of them and your community connections, that will be posted soon. They should know about it because we do want strong partners as we move forward. So I guess I just want to remark in these times that I know they've been troublesome and stressful as we navigate budgets, that VDH remains committed to our core functions in public health. The mission for Virginia Department of Health is to improve the health of all Virginians, and we still intend to do that. We still are supplying those core missions. So please reach out if you have concerns, and I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very comprehensive. Questions from counselors, remarks?
Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
And thank you all for all you do. I just met the person that does the harm reduction. She was at the resource fair today.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I believe it's probably Mariah Hoy.
Yes.
She is a newer member, but she has just been off and running in her role and has made some great partnerships. And we have a great harm reduction outreach network that continues to grow and expand and do good work for the community. And then there's Lindsay oh goodness, I shouldn't. We have one of the first comprehensive harm reduction centers in our area. She is the director, and it is, I am blanking on the organization, so my apologies, but it's so amazing because as we have our harm reduction outreach network and we all collaborate together, we get to share her work and ideas and make sure that we're not redundant. I think that's the beauty of these networks, so we can provide the care throughout our large district rather than provide a lot of redundant care just in one area. So I'm glad you got to meet her.
And you talked about your mobile clinic.
Mhm.
So will that fill in the gap where the Augusta Health don't go? Because I know Augusta Health does. They don't have the mobile, but they are stationary where it is mobile because they go out in certain areas.
Mhm.
But will you all be like coinciding with them, or?
We will want to make sure that we are working or partnering to make sure there's not redundancy, but it will be a little different in services. We envision that we would love to have providers use our mobile clinic, but also some of the services that we provide at the health department aren't truly like primary care health services. So hopefully there's a lot, and I believe Augusta Health, they might be working on a mobile plan as well. I don't want to speak for them, but but we hope to more of this partner efforts rather than redundancy to make sure, because there's enough work, there's enough need to go around is how we look at it. So we just want to make sure we are getting to the communities that need it the most. Yeah, thank you.
I understand, I believe I just read that the library is doing Narcan training. Are they partnering with you, the training that's happening there?
I believe so. Typically, we are the ones that host those trainings, and those occur routinely. If there's a location or a need, just let us know, and I can coordinate with our educator to make sure we get it at the appropriate location.
You mentioned an uptick in preventable childhood diseases in the local area. Can you quantify that? And are there other notable trends that you'd like to call out for us?
Quantifying that, I don't have the numbers with me tonight, but I can say that when you start to hear about like the varicella cases that occurred, and pertussis has been increasing steadily. I should have those numbers. So I apologize, I don't have them tonight. That in fact is one that we've been working on as an entire agency as we see that number rise, but I can get you that number.
Do you see vaccination rates also dropping or maybe not increasing as you wish?
I would say not increasing, or maybe they're drifting. Our vaccination rate in the state is like 94% for measles, and the threshold for prevention of outbreaks is not about 95%. So that's where I say the drift or the shifting downwards. And so overall, there are some other vaccines that we don't see as many problems with. We also have seen post-pandemic some fatigue just overall and some distrust as far as getting vaccinated.
Just have one more question about
Sure.
you all's testings for TB. I know during the pandemic and right after, up until 21, 22, are you all still back to doing that in the health department?
Tuberculosis screenings, absolutely. Now, the people that need that, there have been some changing definitions, even pre-pandemic, about healthcare workers and who needs like screening isn't quite as frequent, but there certainly, our tuberculosis services are unchanged, or I should say, if you said there were differences during the pandemic, we're back to normal and have all our full tuberculosis services in-house or at our facilities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Baraka.
you.
And
I
again,
appreciate your time.
congratulations.
Thank
and
you.
We hope to stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here. All righty, next up on our agenda is a presentation of Valley Career and Technical Center Foundation. Ms. Beauregard. I do
As
know
our
John
city building
Glover.
official, but tonight he's here in his capacity as the Valley's Career and Technical Center Foundation Board Member. He's going to talk a little bit about the foundation and how people can support their efforts. So thank you, John.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council, for listening to us this evening.
Yeah.
Again, I'm John Glover. Sorry, this thing's a little bit low for me.
High for some, low for others. Yeah.
John Glover, as she said, building official, but one of the things I really enjoy serving on this board. I'm really attached to Valley Career and Technical Center. I started out as a student there in high school, then took evening classes there. After that, adult evening classes, then became an instructor, served on an advisory board for the electrical program, and now get to serve on this board as a foundation board member. So I'm really, I've really bought into what they're doing down there, you could say.
Yeah, you're a lifer.
Yeah. With us this evening, I have another board member. I have Chris Earhart there in the green shirt with us this evening. The pamphlet mentions the other board members that could not be here this evening. We also have Nick Collins is a board member, and Tommy Shields and Kim Wood are also board members along with us. First, I want to brag about the school for just a minute. Dr. Weitzel and her staff down there, and this is Dr. Weitzel who came with us too behind
Good
Chris.
evening.
They're doing some great things down there. 25 plus programs, and it's gone way beyond what you would traditionally expect: plumbers, electricians, carpenters, machinists. Just a glance at the list: veterinary science, computer technology, aviation technology, teachers for tomorrow, criminal justice, and culinary arts. So these are just a few highlights, but it's a real broad amount of programs that they have down there. The staff are just doing some amazing things. You probably remember hearing about the Blitz bill that took place not too long ago. I don't want to, you probably know all the details about that, but one thing you probably didn't realize is that not only did they build a bunch of houses in a very short time frame, each house was supervised by a different contractor. And these are home builders that are building homes every day in Augusta County and Waynesboro and Staunton. So, and they assigned, the students were divided up with one of those home builders to build these houses. So it was gave them a lot of practical experience to prepare them for when they leave. They even had students come back who had graduated to help with these projects. So that's just one example of some of the great things they're doing down there. Now I'll try and move on to what the foundation is trying to do. You know, we're fairly recently formed. It took a while to get this up and going, but we have partnered with the Community Foundation so we can use them to to do the financial stuff for us and to take donations and to that sort of thing. We're trying to promote what the school's doing, which is one of the things I'm here tonight for. We want to go to other community organizations to promote what's going on down there. Industry, you know, that's a big thing. We want to promote industry partnerships that will help the students and to prepare for entering the workforce, but also provide an economic development benefit for our communities. You know, have a ready workforce so that Amanda has that prospect that's looking maybe to come to Staunton. If we have that ready workforce, that eases that decision a little bit. Another thing we want to do is support students who go to these skills competitions. These are local, state, and regional competitions where they get to show off what they've learned. And it's very expensive. If they do well, it's very expensive to send them to Richmond or somewhere out of state for a national competition. And we have a lot of students that do very well and are very competitive in those areas. So we want to help support that so that they're able to go to those. Obviously, other things, industry partnerships could mean donation of old equipment, guidance with programs that might be needed, that they need people that know how to do X, so we can set up a program to train them for that. I missed one here, but and this funding, we receive generous support from all three local jurisdictions through their budget. But as you all know, sometimes getting something through a budget process, it's as you're going through it right now, is a long and arduous process. But sometimes they need to move faster than that can go. So this will provide them a mechanism to get a piece of equipment that may be cutting edge, or to replace something that's broken or whatever outside of the normal materials to do a project. So it can provide them a lot of support for that sort of stuff. Again, I just wanted to thank you all for your continued support of the school. And if you have any questions, myself or maybe one of these people who know more than I do could help us to answer those questions, but we'll answer whatever questions we can.
Questions, comments?
No questions, but VOTEC has just been such a great pathway
Yeah.
for direct hands-on experience with that. And I've been fortunate to work with a lot of the students on the masonry side, a little bit with habitat work and the blitz build part of things. So it's just these people end up being able to just go directly into the workforce, absolutely prepared to start on day one and don't have this long period of figuring it out. So it's just such a valuable resource locally.
What is the local demand level? Have you all been holding steady with enrollment for classes? Is there increase? Do you have capacity to add more students?
Dr. Weitzel might be able to answer that, like I said, better than I. So, but
I'm just curious kind of like what the trends have been over the past coming out of COVID.
Yes, sir. That's a great question. In the past 4 years, we've increased enrollment by about 27, 28%. We are, because the DOE caps our classes at a certain number because they are hands-on and equipment-based for safety reasons, we are somewhat limited. We are probably close to capacity at this point with that increased enrollment over the past 4 years.
Thank you.
I do have a question, and for someone that is wanting to enroll in Valley, Votech, and they're not in school, but they want to enroll, I know that it's out of pocket. Have you all ever considered grants or any kind of scholarship for those that can't pay for something like this?
I think it's been considered. I mean, we don't, we're pretty new. We don't have much of a fund balance yet to start doing a lot of actual work, but I think that's something that could be considered for sure. The adult program is very robust. There's lots of people that go, I mean, I was one of them. A lot of people go down there for the evening adult program. So that might be something to look at because we're not just supporting the high school students, it's the entire Valley Career and Technical Center.
Weisel has-
Oh, yes.
There's no cost to attend Valley Tech, and particularly the high school programs. There's no cost for the high school programs. The adult programs are a tuition-based class. Many employers will pay for those individuals to do that, but there is no cost for the high school programs.
Thank you.
Which programs are seeing the biggest increase in demand enrollment, and where do you see the opportunities going forward, anticipated demand need?
That's a great question. Probably our biggest growth has been in our health and medical. We just heard Dr. Baracco here. We have in the past few years, we've just graduated. We just had last week our first initial class of clinical medical assistants complete their certification. We have students tomorrow who will be taking a phlebotomy exam. That is new this year. Both of those are outgrowths of conversations we've had with Augusta Health, and that was their demand. And so those have been, one has been integrated into a curriculum. The other one has been an additional program. So there is a large increase in that area. I think we continue to see increases in the trades as we have generations retiring. There's going to be huge gaps with our trades folks. So we continue to see that as holding steady and continuing to grow, I would say. But aviation is something we have just added with the new additions to the airport and so forth. So we do try to think about our economy. I know Ms. DeMaio, as well as the other economic development forces, help advise us on advisory boards and things like that. So it is important that we prepare our students for work that's available, as well as work that they're interested in.
Questions from counselors? No. Thank you so much. Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Glover. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you all again.
Weitzel.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Mr. Arwell. All righty, well, that was our last item. We will take a break until our regular meeting at 7 p.m. Ready? All righty. It is now 7. All right, it's now 7 o'clock, and I'd like to call the April 24th, 2025 regular meeting of the Staunton City Council to order. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This evening's invocation is coming to us from Vice Mayor Arrowood.
Thank you, Mayor Edwards. But this evening, we ask for guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful and productive discussion. Allow us to move forward thoughtfully as we make decisions that impact the citizens of our community we serve, and remind us that our decisions today echo forward to impact future generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. So this evening, we are very lucky to have two proclamations to celebrate people in our fine city. The first one is Arbor Day. So I am going to start by reading the proclamation, and then we have a special presentation. Arbor Day, April 25th, 2025. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the city of Staunton is being honored this year for the 29th time as a Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation. Now therefore be it proclaimed by Staunton City Council that April 25th, 2025 is hereby designated as Arbor Day in the city of Staunton. And City Council urges the residents of Staunton, the region, and communities across the country to celebrate Arbor Day, to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and to plant trees to warm the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. In witness whereof I have set my hand and caused the seal of this city to be affixed, adopted this day, 2024, April 2025. Thank you very much, and thank you. Thank you. Who do we have here from Shenandoah Green? Oh, hello. The podium, are you going to be using a microphone? Okay.
No, we need-
Well, you
Okay.
should.
Well, yeah, you should.
Yeah,
People
people
should.
need to hear you
Yeah.
online who are listening. Yeah. Sorry, but folks.
Okay,
listening,
can
yeah,
everybody hear?
Absolutely. Yes.
All
ma'am.
right, so we love April, and it's because it's Arbor Day and it's Earth Day. This weekend, we are celebrating Earth Day Staunton at Gypsy Hill Park, and we are giving away lots and lots of trees, so we hope to see you there. But right now, we are celebrating the Staunton Legacy Tree Project, which was built upon the legacy of Staunton's first Arbor Day back in 1889. Back then, 1,500 trees were planted. Now, fast forward to recent history. In January of 2020, Carolyn Dull, who was the mayor at that time, had a dream to plant 746 trees in Staunton, and it was one for every school child in the Staunton City School District. And she held a meeting with Matt Sensabaugh and Bart McDowell of Bartlett Tree Experts with Shenandoah Green and others. And she asked if it was feasible to plant all of those trees. And Matt and Bart said yes. Then she asked if Shenandoah Green would head the project. We were a new organization at that time, and we didn't even have a single penny in our treasury. And then days later, COVID exploded. But through all of those challenges and others, by the end of 2021, we had planted all of those 2,746 trees. The Staunton Legacy Tree Project planted trees in the parks, all of the schools, on city property, at the post office, in churches, at Habitat for Humanity, at Valley Mission, in people's yards. We planted them everywhere. But we couldn't have done it without grants, donations, without volunteers, and without the support of the city of Staunton. And so it's my honor to present this plaque to the city of Staunton, thanking donors who gave $250 or more to make this project possible.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Wow, that is so cool.
Also, in relation to that project and many other things, we are here to present the 2025 Earth Hero Award for an individual to our city horticulturist, Matt Sensabaugh.
All right.
This is in recognition of your 20 years overseeing the planting and care of thousands of trees throughout the city parks and neighborhoods, preserving our tree canopy and reinforcing our natural buffer against carbon in the atmosphere. Also for your invaluable partnership in Shenandoah Green's tree projects, including the one just mentioned, and now our new project, which is Staunton Tree Stewards, which is sort of the follow-up project in which we have volunteers helping to care for trees, including some that are in the public parks and things. So that's what Matt is also helping us with. And so we are very happy with all the help you gave us planting those 2,746 trees. I want you guys to just think about that number. Many in parks and at schools, and in the years 2020, 2021 and beyond. And Matt couldn't join us for Earth Day on Saturday, but I hope some of you all will. We have Earth Day Saturday, Earth Day stand in Gypsy Hill Park from 11 to 3. There will be free trees. So you've heard many wonderful things about what trees can do. Come and get your free trees from the Staunton Tree Stewards of Shenandoah Green on Saturday. And thank you all for letting us do
Thank
this
you.
today.
Glad
And
you're
Matt,
here.
this is for you.
All right.
There's a more permanent certificate coming, but we just didn't get that by tonight.
Right.
And then a gift certificate, and we want to thank Matt so much. Let's give him another hand. Thank you.
This way.
Yeah.
stand behind-
Yeah.
You can
The
stand behind
proclamation.
me.
Okay. Who wants to be in front of the podium?
Cynthia, we can't see you. There's your face. I need to give you the proclamation. Gonna be taking the proclamation. Very blessed to have all. Your space did it. Well, shout out to Makerspace for creating that awesome wooden plaque for the city. Okay, our next proclamation, another annual event, is the Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive Day, I apologize, May 10th, 2025. Whereas every year on the second Saturday in May, letter carriers across the country collect non-perishable food as part of the nation's largest one-day food drive, distributing the donations to local food banks. And whereas the Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive is just one example of how letter carriers work to make a difference in the lives of those they serve. Since the pilot drive was held in 1991, over 1.9 billion pounds of food have been collected. And whereas we recognize all letter carriers for their hard work and their commitment to their communities, all the food collected in our community stays in our community, and we support carriers' efforts to help those in need in Staunton. And whereas we also recognize the noteworthy milestone of 33 years that the National Letter Carrier Food Drive celebrates in 2025. Now therefore be it proclaimed by Staunton City Council that May 10th, 2025 is hereby designated as Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive Day in the city of Staunton, and we encourage the citizens of our community to support the Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive by placing non-perishable food items for donation to the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank in or near your mailbox on the morning of the food drive day. Your letter carrier and volunteers will pick up your donation, and together we can all help feed our hungry. Thank you. Is there anyone who is here from the Letter Carriers Food Drive? The usual suspects. Yes, sir.
I'm okay with that.
And I hope the other two are as well.
Kylie, do we have
Yeah.
this from the food bank online?
Don't, it doesn't look like it.
Wow. Oh,
Hey.
well earned.
Notice that, huh? Thank you, council members, citizens of City of Staunton, for indulging me for a moment while I flap my gums. Like they said, 33 years. The first year, 2 years ago when I stood up here, I don't think we won an award for the food drive. And I know that my former president, Mr. Tom Miller, the food drive was a big staple for him, something he cared about a lot. So I am thrilled that I can take over as the president for him and be able to win now 2 years in a row an award for the food drive for first place, because I know it meant so much to him. This will be his last year with us. So I want to make this year even better. This award is, last year, I think it was a plaque that we got, a very nice plaque. This year, they went all out. It's probably a 20-pound glass monument there. I know Cindy had to carry it through Baltimore when she received it. So, but yeah, like I said, I really hope that this year, we can make a bigger splash, put Staunton on the map a few years ago. And if I have anything to say about it, we're going to keep her there.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, you make us very proud. Thank
Yeah.
you. Very, very proud.
I'm a letter carrier here in Staunton, and Tom kind of volunteered me for this position, but it's great. I've been here 8 years, and each year we've gotten more and more, regardless of how many carriers we're out or how many down. We do it for our people. That's who we work for also. And this year, we're going to do the same thing. Cindy's got a lot of volunteers that's going to help. And I think it's one of the greatest things around here. There's so many people that needs it. It stays right here at home, and I really enjoy doing it. And Staunton gives so much more than we could even imagine for them, and I really appreciate it. So thank y'all.
Thank you for everything you do. Thank you.
Yes, I carried this all the way from Boston, by the way. But, and we brought this, I know Stony brought this because this is your award. We can't do it without the community. So we did that together, and we're going to do it again this year. But also we are partnering this year with Charlottesville's branch, which is Charlottesville, Waynesboro, and Harrisonburg. They will also have some bags, etc. And they're in a different size category though, so they're going to win too. And that's our goal, is to feed the Shenandoah Valley. I'm really proud of doing this. I've only missed one drive because they hadn't hired me yet at the post office. So this is my 32nd, and I'm honored to be doing it with all of you. And I want to say thank you, because some of the city council people sitting up here have volunteered to pick up food on Food Drive Day. So again, this is really a community effort. Look for the big banner we're going to have this year on the garage on Johnson Street. I'm very excited about that. Look for the bag in your mailbox, but if you don't get the pretty blue bag, don't worry about it. Any bag will do. Just put your food by your mailbox and we'll do the rest. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, we want to hold up the monument.
You want to hold the monument since you carried it? Do you want to continue to hold it? Where? Oh, Stony.
You're standing
Yeah.
up here?
Megan.
John told me.
You guys might have to squeeze it a little bit. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Switch this way. All right, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Thanks, guys.
All right, good luck. Let's do this, guys. Let's do this, Stanton. Oh my. No, I don't think I should carry that.
Drop it.
Do it again. All righty. Moving right along, we are on our mayor's report. I just wanted to recognize and welcome our sheriff of Staunton. Good evening, Sheriff Hartless, welcome. He's always here, thank you. So I just attended a couple of things over the past 2 weeks. One of them was a poverty simulation organized and conducted by the Social Work Club at Mary Baldwin University. And I saw Counselor Woods there, and she had actually participated in one a previous time. But it was
Last year
my,
with Blue Ridge.
yeah, and, but it was my first experience, and the Mary Baldwin students just did a fantastic job. So I love to be able to participate with them when I can. I attended an open house at the LGBTQ+ Center. It was very well attended. There was a lot of enthusiasm, saw a lot of support for the community. I wanted to point out for everyone, in case you don't know, I think it's wonderful to communicate information. I will try to make it fast, but every month, the departments in the city contribute statistics and information about what their department did over the past month. And these are stored on a page in in the Stanton City website. And I just wanted to point out a few things that happened in March. So when we get our April report, it's what happened in March. Report and you can find these by going to our website and just putting in the search bar activity reports. So in March, Staunton PD responded to 2,639 dispatched calls for service, and they responded in just under 4 minutes. Fire and Rescue responded to 304 dispatched calls with a response time of just under 5 minutes. Fire and Rescue Captain Adam Dolan recertified all public works staff in CPR and first aid, and firefighter William McGuire graduated from the Virginia Fire Officers Academy. I will just read a few. I could go on and on about the things that our city is doing. The Commissioner of Revenue's office issued 31 new business licenses in March. The Youth Services Librarian, Lizzie Hill, installed a new picture book for the Story Walk at Montgomery Hall Park. And speaking of parks, our Superintendent of Parks, Chase Dudley, attended the National Playground Safety Inspector Certification course in Williamsburg. You see that our staff stay educated, stay trained, and they train others. The Office on Youth Crime Control Programs, 9 youth received detention alternative services, so well done. Our Chief Technology Officer, Kurt Plowman, attended the Drone Responders National Public Safety UAS Conference. So there's so much more to hear about. And so if you're interested, just again, go to our website and type in activity reports. That's all I have this evening. Anything else from members of council? Go, Councilor Overholzer.
I just wanted to call out the Stanton High School
Mhm.
and the support from the Lewis Creek Watershed Advisory Committee, Rotary, local garden clubs helped with cleanup at a site behind Staunton High School, where there's going to be a future outdoor classroom resource, including a pavilion that is to be built by the Rotary Club. But it's a fantastic fantastic project. I'm a big fan of environmental stewardship, and especially when there's a tie-in with education. This is going to benefit so many areas of the curriculum. So congratulations to the high school, to the student who designed the pavilion, and to the people who helped volunteer for that great project.
Anything else from members of council?
Well, not a specific event, as you already mentioned a few there, but I did want to point out a couple events this weekend. There is a band concert for the city schools, their middle school in particular, coming up this Sunday evening, starting at about 6:30, I believe. On that, we also have Building Bridges is holding an event on Saturday from 1 to 3. It's their annual Breaking Bread, and that's at the Booker T. Washington.
Saturday, 1 to 3.
Yep.
Terrific. All righty, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to item A, the consent agenda. Per procedure memorandum number 14, it's the policy of the city council to have routine, non-controversial items placed on a consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be voted on in one motion. If separate discussion of an item is requested by any member of council, that item shall be removed and considered separately at the end of the regular meeting agenda. Do any members of council wish to remove any items from the consent agenda to be placed at the end of the regular meeting agenda for separate consideration? No. All righty. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Woods,
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
right, is there a second?
A second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Kesker, please call the roll.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Miss Woods,
Aye.
Miss Park,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood.
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. All righty, item B is a public hearing and consideration of an amendment to chapter 18.50 P1 Professional District of Title 18 zoning of the Staunton City Code. Ms. Beauregard.
Tim Hartless, the planning manager, will walk through this item this evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. It's
Good
a
evening,
pleasure
Mr.
to be here.
Hartless.
This is a request by Melissa Swan for a zoning text amendment to allow florist shops as a use permitted on review in our P1 professional districts. Ms. Swan recently purchased property at 2010 North Augusta Street with the intention of relocating her business, Honeybee's Florist. However, 2010 North Augusta Street is zoned professional, and florist shops are not a permitted use either by right or on review. If the zoning code is amended, a special use permit could be approved to allow Ms. Swan to operate at this new location. Staff is supportive of the idea of florist shops by special use permit. We would not be supportive of the use as a by right use. Some of our professional zoning districts would be suitable for retail sales like a florist shop, but there are other professional zoning districts where this would not be a good use because most of those are mostly residential in nature. The draft amendment creates SCC section 1850-030 uses permitted on review, and it lists florist shops as the only use. Planning Commission did express an interest in including other uses, but in the interest of time for the applicant, they decided to send this amendment on to you tonight with only florist shops included. Staff will continue to work with the Planning Commission to draft the necessary language, and we may bring a future amendment to you to add additional uses. Attachment 2 in your packet is a map which shows the current P1 zoning throughout the city. As I mentioned before, we believe florist shops could be permitted on review in some of these areas like North Coulter and North Augusta, but there are other P1 districts like the west side of North Lewis Street, or East Beverly and Calorama and the block between Market and Coulter where this would not be a good use. The special use permit process allows us to look at each of these requests individually based on the type of business and the location where they propose to operate, and then approve them on a case-by-case basis. Planning Commission held a public hearing at its March 20th, 2025 meeting. During the public hearing, no one spoke in opposition, and the commission is unanimously recommending this code amendment to you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
What are the other ideas for things that they want to add on to this one? Or do you not want to get into? this?
Well,
Yeah,
it's mostly it's retail type sales that have limited in-person customers. So we're trying to determine how do we craft language that expresses that without creating too many loopholes. And the Planning Commission was reluctant to hurry that along. It's something that they'd like to give more consideration to.
knee-jerk planning never goes well. But it's unlikely everyone in town will suddenly need flowers at the same time. Unlikely.
I have no questions. Anybody? So this is a public hearing. So I will go ahead and open, in a moment, I will open the public hearing. And this is a time that council sets aside to hear from citizens and others about this specific topic on the agenda. We ask that you please give your name, your address, and then keep your remarks to 5 minutes or less. When you reach the 5-minute time limit, I will let you know that your time limit has expired. For our Zoom participants, please raise your hand now if you wish to speak on this particular public hearing. If you raise your hand during this public hearing, you will also be able to raise your hand during the city council meeting for other public hearings and matters of the public. And please keep your time to 5 minutes. Once everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity, I will then close the public hearing. I will now open the public hearing. So if you wish to speak, please approach the podium, and we will alternate between individuals physically present and those that have their hands raised via Zoom. Again, this public hearing is only for item B, and you are asked to not speak on any other topic. So if you wish to speak on this topic, please approach the podium. Yes, sir.
Charlie Hildebrand. I live on 11 Woodland Drive, right here in the city. And I just want to talk about the floral shop on Augusta Street.
We're talking about just the zoning. The floral shop will be the next
Yes.
public hearing. Okay,
It's-
okay.
It had been an eye doctor obstetrician. Now they want to put a floral shop in there. There was a Terry Court. You can say it's a retail business, but most of their businesses, we get a phone call. I want to order some flowers for this address. They have 2 delivery vans. I never see anybody coming in where they currently are to buy flowers. But I see the van leave with flowers. So there's going to be less traffic because the other occupant had many cars there. It was always filled out front. I envisioned seeing the van out there and probably the owner and maybe a worker. That's about it. They've got ample parking in the back. It's been approved every time it's been mentioned. So I hope that this will pass through as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir,
Thank
very
you.
much. Mr. Kessler, is anyone Zoom with their hand raised?
We have no hands raised on Zoom.
Much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak about this zoning change? The zoning, it's for the zoning, not the actual shop itself.
Xavier Wilhelmi, 1803 Orchard Lane here in Staunton. And I second you. You're quite correct. They're very active throughout the community and mainly deliver. And I've known the Swans now since over 20 years. And they've been a great asset to the community with the little bee lines all over. So I hope this goes through. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone online, Mr. Kessiker?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, caller? Can you hear me? Caller?
Zach.
Is it Mr.
Sir,
Lewis?
you're muted.
Is it Mr. Lewis? Yeah. Zach, you're, I think, muted.
Okay, ready?
Hi. Hello, Miss Lee. Yes, we're ready. We can hear you.
Okay, this is Barbara Lee, 904 Rockaway Street, Staunton, Virginia. By all means, give Miss Swan her residence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak about the zoning change? All righty. Any more questions from counselors or for our staff? All righty. Then I will call the public hearing now closed. I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move the council adopt the ordinance and approve the amendment recommended by the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Second that.
Alrighty. Is there any further discussion? All righty, Mr. Kesker, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Miss Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Miss Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Righty, thank you very much, Mr. Kessiker. We're moving on to item C, a public hearing and consideration of a request by Melissa Swan for a special use permit at 2010 North Augusta Street to operate a florist shop in a P1 professional district. Ms. Beauregard.
Tim Hartless is back again.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. This is a request by Melissa Swan for a special use permit to operate her business Honeybee's Florist at 2010 North Augusta Street. This property is zoned P1 Professional District. In the immediate area, there are a number of professional business offices as well as Terry Court Shopping Center and many residential uses as well. Professional zoning is intended for residential use. As well as professional business offices. You just amended the professional zoning regulations, which now allow florist shops as a use permitted on review. As shown on the attached map, surrounding zoning is P1 professional to the north, south, and east, R2 low-density residential to the southwest, and there is some R1 low-density residential to the west. Property is part of our North Augusta Entrance Corridor Overlay District. So any changes to the exterior of the property would have to go through that corridor review process. That would include changes, new windows, new doors, any new exterior lighting, as well as the new signs. Our comprehensive plan designates this area as professional. This designation is characterized as service-oriented uses with consideration to the character of the area. These uses are found in residential areas along major thoroughfares and adjacent to the central business district. Although florist shop is not specifically a professional use, it is an 8 to 5 Monday through Saturday kind of business. And we feel that it is in compliance with the intentions of the comprehensive plan. Planning Commission held a public hearing on this request at its March 20th, 2025 meeting. No one spoke in opposition, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval. I will add one additional thing. Planning Commission recommended approval with a condition. That condition was included in the resolution that we provided, but I neglected to include it in my briefing to you. So I will read that condition to you. It is that any alteration to the building must comply with the provisions of the Virginia Uniform Statewide Building Code as determined by the Staunton building official and Title 18 zoning of the Staunton City Code as determined by the Staunton zoning administrator. So it was unanimously recommended to you with that condition. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Our applicant, Ms. Swan, is also here, and I know she would be happy to answer any questions that you have for her.
Right. Would you have any questions from Mr. Hartless before the applicant comes forward. So just as the designation doesn't go to the actual building, it goes to the business. So if the florist were to close, it would return to the underlying zoning?
If a floor shop were to close, then
Would revert to-
yeah, well, it's still zoned professional. It just
Mhm.
has this special permit. So the special use permit is only for florist shops. If it's any other kind of use, then they have to comply with the P1 professional districts or ask for a new special use permit.
Thank you
So,
so much.
but
Go ahead.
the, if she sold the property and the business, it would all convey.
Special use
Yes.
permit runs with the land.
Right.
Thank you. Anyone? Ms. Swan, would you like to? Good evening, welcome.
Evening, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, glad you're here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. My name's Melissa Swan. I'm in here in regards to 2010 North Augusta Street, but I live on 1102 Donaghy Street in Stanton. And I guess I wrote a little something, but dear Madam Mayor and councils, city council members, I'm so grateful to be standing before you today. To say I'm thankful for all the help of the Planning and Zoning Department and City Council is an understatement.
It's okay.
Last 4 months have been so many emotions. I can't possibly categorize them all. Being allowed to practice business in 2010 North Augusta Street in Dr. Stathos's old eye clinic is an honor. To be included in a piece of history that has served our community for 60 years as it heads into its next chapter is awe-inspiring for me. I can't believe this day is here, and I hope the council will support our plea for moving our company of 20 years to this location. I don't speak publicly very well, sorry. I am open to any questions you may have. I am grateful to have the opportunity this community has provided me with the amendment of zoning code. I know this has been no small feat, and I will venture to do good work for the remainder of my career in floristry.
Thank you so much. No, you're a wonderful public
Well
speaker.
said.
I just wondered, it's 2 floors. Do you have any, is the floors, are you going to use both floors of the building?
So the underneath around the
Yeah,
back was an
right, yes.
apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment, and we have rented that to a tenant. We rented that
Okay.
in February.
Okay.
It's just a 1-bedroom, kind of a large 1-bedroom apartment that we,
Okay.
kind of fixed up and things. We have a tenant in there, and she's best first tenant we could ever hope to have. And she's got a year lease. And then upstairs, we will have the florist shop, and then, some on a third of the left side, we'd like to have rental space for other professionals. And we have 2 massage therapists that want to sign a lease and book and have their business on the upper side of the business, or upper side of the building, pardon
Yeah.
me.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Do you know about how long it'll take you to be up and running in that location?
Well, we awaited doing a great many things because we
Sure.
wanted to be sure this was worth the investment of the cooler, which was a huge part of our renovation budget and things like that. We wanted to make sure some of this went well before we did too much. But with the concerns of timelines and we had let our landlord know we were going to be leaving and things, we did start to order the cooler and things like that, just little stuff to get things going, but we haven't really done too much because we want to make sure we get everything in place. And with the avenue of thinking we were considered professional industry before we bought the building, and in light of all that, we wanted to make sure we got this going and approval with you all today and with Planning and Zoning Commission and all their work to then get permits and things like that to do the renovations we need to do. But we didn't want to do too much of that until we've just done minor things like pull out carpet and paint and things like that to prepare. And as soon as we get the approval, we are running the race, let me tell you, because we really would like to be out before wedding season begins, and that's May 3rd. But it'll obviously be before June 1st. We hope to get things going in that building by then. We have contractors lined up kind of waiting for the go ahead. I hope I answered that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ms. Swan, I'd like to note just the incredible support from your customer base.
Oh, yes.
In my 1.5 on council and 6 some years on planning commission, you easily hold the record for
the record,
most
yes.
supportive emails received.
Yeah, I counted, I think it was 60, I think.
Oh, was it
I think I
60?
got
I
60.
stopped at 40.
I stopped, yeah. So I apologize, I did not respond to every but yes, you received
That's awesome. That's
an
awesome to hear.
amazing
Thank
amount
you.
of support.
Thank you.
So, and
Thank
people
you.
just on the street.
It's been my honor to serve the community.
Well,
You
thank you
get to
very much.
kind of know people's lives and all good, bad, and indifferent. And when you're part of this community, it's nice to know that they care too.
Wonderful. Okay, well, if we have no more questions,
From proms to weddings.
from proms to weddings. Wonderful. Okay.
Unfortunately.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Well,
you.
yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you for listening to me.
Yes. I do not know if I closed the public hearing. We haven't opened the public hearing. It's the same
No.
public hearing. All righty, I will now open the public hearing. So if you wish to speak, please approach the podium and we will alternate between individuals physically present and those that have their hands raised via the Zoom platform. Again, this public hearing is for item C only, and you're asked not to speak on any other topic that does not directly relate to this topic. So if you would like, anyone else would like to speak, please come to the podium. Is there anyone on Zoom, Mr. Kessiker?
We have no hands raised on Zoom.
Ready? No one wants to come speak. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I would propose that we adopt. Oh,
Gotta close the public hearing.
Oh, I apologize.
sorry.
The public hearing is now closed. I will now entertain a motion.
Okay.
sorry, I thought you did that.
Sorry, I was jumping the gun there. I will now entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I would like to propose that we adopt the resolution to approve the special use permit with its condition as recommended by the Planning Commission and its amendment.
Thank you,
Second
Counselor
that.
Shepherd. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will ask Mr. Kessiker to please call the roll.
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Wonderful.
Call your
Congratulations.
contractors. Yeah.
Congratulate. That's a big relief, I can tell. Congratulations. Okay, we're on item D, a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance authorizing the lease agreement between the City of Staunton and Staunton Baseball, Inc. for the limited use of baseball field and operation of concession rights. Ms. Beauregard.
I'm going to turn it over to John Blair, City Attorney.
Mr. Blair, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Edwards, Council.
Good evening.
This is our annual, instead of a Texas two-step, we'll call it a Staunton two-step. Every year we do the Staunton Baseball Incorporated lease, followed by Happy Birthday America. So the first item before you is this year allowing Staunton Baseball to lease Moxie Field. The lease would be inclusive of the dates between May 20th and August 10th of 2025. Staunton Baseball Incorporated will pay $1 to the city for this privilege. The lease does talk about the concessions, and they are allowed to sell concessions as well as alcohol at this games. Additionally, the lease does list, they do plan to have a little pregame musical entertainment on, I believe, 5 separate dates. And again, a coming attraction for your next item between June 29th and July the 5th of this year, they will not be allowed to operate for Happy Birthday America. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
There were no major changes that I noticed, so.
No, ma'am, I think we've covered all the bases.
Oh, God. All righty. Wouldn't expect anything less from you, Mr. Blair.
We're almost home.
Almost home.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, before anybody gets
Quickly,
hurt,
quickly.
before anybody gets hurt, this is a public hearing. Before we do this, does anyone have a question? Without a pun. I will now open the public hearing. So if you wish to speak, please approach the podium And we will alternate between individuals physically present and those that have their hands raised via the Zoom platform. Again, this public hearing is for item D only, and you are asked not to speak on any other topic that does not relate to this topic. Would anyone like to speak about the baseball lease? Lease of Moxie Field. Is anyone online, Mr. Kessiker?
We have no hands raised on Zoom.
All righty. Call the public hearing closed. I will entertain a motion then.
Madam Mayor.
Vice Mayor Airwood.
I move the city council adopt the ordinance authorizing approval of the lease agreement between the city of Staunton and Staunton Baseball Incorporated for the limited use of the baseball field and operation of concession rights beginning May 20th, 2025, and further authorizing the city manager to be authorized to execute the lease agreement with such modifications in final form as approved by the city attorney.
Fabulous. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Counselor Woods. Any further discussion? Mr. Kessiker, please call the roll.
Mr. Overholzer.
Aye.
Ms. Woods.
Aye.
Mr. Campbell.
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
Ms. Park.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood.
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That was a grand slam.
Oh, God.
Boom.
All righty. Oh,
Boom.
wow. Oh, my.
I don't know how we're gonna follow that.
I
for
just-
next item. We gotta come
All
up with
right.
some really good jokes. for
No
Happy
more
Birthday,
baseball
America.
puns.
Flowers with
Yeah.
baseball.
Maybe a
Let's see
diamond
what we
in a-
get for the next item. All righty. I'm sure he's got a handful here.
Nah.
A public hearing
Diamond in the rough.
and consideration of an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement between the city of Staunton and Happy Birthday America, Inc. Ms. Beauregard.
Mr. Blair.
Good evening again, Mayor Edwards and council.
Mr. Blair.
Again, as we do annually, this is the annual lease that will allow Happy Birthday America to use Gypsy Hill Park between the dates of June 29th and July the 5th. There's no change except for the dates in the lease document this year. I don't know, I think there is someone from Happy Birthday if they'd like to speak.
Good evening. Glad you're here. Good to see you again.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Edwards, Arrowood Vice Mayor, council members, city staff, citizens. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's Andrew Dietz, and I am the president of Happy Birthday America. I'd like to start by just a few word of thanks, and I'll give you a little bit of teaser as to what's happening this year, and then humbly request your approval for this event. So first, I can't tell you how appreciative I am of the talent that we have in this city, specifically with Will and Langdon with Wilson Fairchild, who carry on the tradition that their parents, Don Reed and Harold Reed, started in 1970, carried on through 1995 with the celebration for the 4th of July, and a free concert, a family-friendly, alcohol-free event. It's a wonderful tradition here in Staunton. And being born and raised in Staunton and growing up through that, it's just incredible, and it's great to be a part of it again. And this is now coming up on our 8th year, which is also hard to believe, with our Happy Birthday America event at the park. And it just gets bigger and better every year. I also want to thank the 20+ members of our all volunteer nonprofit group that meet year round to plan this. And that number doubles as it gets to the time of the event. And we need all the volunteer support and help soliciting sponsors and getting everything set up. It's just an incredible work by everybody. And then last, but certainly not least, I can't tell you how appreciative we are of the partnership with the city, with Leslie, staff, Amanda. Every department just cares about this so much and works so hard to make it a great event for the city. So it's truly a pleasure and honor to be a part of that. So we're really excited about this year. I don't know if you've seen the announcements on Facebook and other social media, but we've got our major kind of artists and stuff planned. So I'll give you a little bit of a kind of breakdown of the events. It starts with our beauty pageant on the 29th, which is always a couple hundred people come out. Great to see the kids get up there and present themselves. And then we carry on to our Vesper service that happens on the 3rd. We've got a great speaker lined up that'll be announced soon. But Darren and Brooke Aldridge who are our gospel and bluegrass singers, award winners, national act. They're going to be there to entertain the evening of the 3rd for the Vesper service. We're super excited about them being here. They're incredible. If you haven't heard them, make sure to look them up and listen to them. And then on the 4th, we start out with our Soul Focus sponsored Firecracker 5K, then our parade, that's always a big hit. And then the Stonewall Brigade Band plays at 2. And then we move into our entertainment over at Moxie Field. And this year, which will go all day, this year we're super excited that Langdon and Wilson Fairchild were able to get Emily Ann Roberts as our headliner to perform with them. And if you're not familiar with her, she's got about 700 and some thousand followers on Facebook. She was on The Voice. She was a finalist on The Voice. And this past year, she's been touring with Blake Shelton and Clint Black. So she's kind of on her way up, and fortunate here in Staunton, we're able to get her kind of on that trajectory, but just believes in everything that this event's about, from, you know, being family friendly, et cetera, and just the small town community and opportunity that it is. So she's going to be here that evening. Then, of course, we have our veteran salute, and we have fireworks that are bought and paid for, set up. We're working with Perry and the team on making sure we do that all safely. But yeah, so we're super excited this year, and we very much are appreciative of your all support, continued support. I've got our preliminary flyers that I'll pass around, and y'all can have one and just to keep in your home or wherever you want it. But
Thank you, Andrew.
Langdon and Will were both sorry they weren't able to make it tonight. Langdon, they had commitments. Langdon specifically is coaching baseball this evening, which is just like his dad did, you know, ages ago. And they're so care about the community and make sure they're mentoring the kids in our community. So anyway,
That's awesome.
that's what I have to share. So and I'll
Thank you,
pass
Mr.
these.
Dietz. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll take any questions.
Oh, yeah. Does anyone have any? You are going to take care of the weather for us.
Do my best, you know.
That's the only question I
we
ever
said a
have.
few words to know for the best. Hopefully no deratios or anything else.
Oh,
coming through.
gosh. Okay. That's it then. It'll be a perfect weekend. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, this is a public hearing. So I will now open the public hearing. So if you wish to speak, please approach the podium, and we will alternate between individuals physically present and those that have their hands raised via Zoom. Again, this public hearing is for item E only, and you are asked not to speak on any other topic that does not directly relate to this topic. Would anybody like to speak about this topic? Is there anybody on Zoom, Mr. Kessiker?
We have no hands raised on Zoom.
All righty, then I will close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I will offer the spark to approve this
Oh,
amendment.
God. Okay. All right.
This better not. This better not.
All right, shoot. Go
I
ahead.
move the city council.
Oh, touche.
I move the city council adopt the ordinance authorizing the approval of the lease agreement between the city of Staunton and Happy Birthday America, Inc., and further authorizing the city manager to execute the lease agreement with such modifications and in final form as approved by the city attorney.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Counselor Woods. Is there any further discussion without puns? All righty, Mr.
Without
Kessiker,
puns.
would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Park,
Aye.
Mr. Overholzer,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Ms. Woods,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood,
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Good luck and thank you so much. Alrighty, this takes us to item F, which is not a public hearing. It is a consideration of an ordinance to establish a budget for fiscal year 2026, July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, totaling $164,535,789, and for the capital improvement plan FY 26 to FY 2030. I'm sorry, Ms. Beauregard.
So Jessie Moyer is here, and she'll do a very quick presentation, just providing the details of the budget as it's presented to you this evening that came out of the work session last week. And then after her presentation, we can open it up for discussions and questions for the vote is taken.
Thank you.
I only have 4 slides tonight because I'm pretty sure you guys are burnt out on all my slides. through all the work sessions. So total budget, a little over 164 million. The city budget is 112,846,285 of that. And the school budget is 51,689,504. The local transfer to the school system is 18.9 million, which is a 9.55% increase. And the annual debt service general fund transfer is a little over 6.5 million. The proposed real estate rate is 91 cents per 100 assessed value. There are no other changes to tax rates or fees proposed. The next slide summarizes our human resources expenditures with a 3% cost of living adjustment, 10% increase in health insurance premiums for both the employer and employee. 4 new positions related to the new courthouse that will be opening later this fall. 1 full-time deputy, 1 part-time deputy, 1 full-time custodian, 1 part-time custodian. It restores funding for 1 traffic position and restores funding for 1 water distribution position in the water fund. That funding was frozen a few years ago to fund a $3 an hour raise, and they requested that we unfreeze those 2 positions. It also implements phase 1 of the police department's career development plan. The next slide, it goes over the significant outside agency and social program expenditures. Currently, this budget does not fund any new outside agency request, but we do have, we will be revisiting the $50,000 council funds that are set aside and funding the Arcadia Quest with one-time funds out of the crossing sale. The Valley Community Services Board, this budget fully funds their request from the city of Staunton. That's about $137,000 increase. It fully funds the the Valley Children's Advocacy Center, their $50,000 request, which is a $35,000 increase. Office on Youth, a $29,000 increase. The local share of Department of Social Services and Children's Services Act, a little over $280,000. Animal shelter increase of $119,000, and Middle River Regional Jail of almost $44,000. The capital improvement plan, the 5-year plan is $78,729,917 for all funds. The general fund transfer to the CIP is $1.5 million. That continues the 287, 261 for the Uniontown, the West End, and the library reserves. And it starts a new annual infrastructure reserve of $657,030, which is the equivalent of 2 cents on the real estate rate. In the FY26 enterprise capital, in the FY26 budget is 10.5 million, most of which is going to be funded with fund balance. And that is all I had to review with you, and I can take questions.
Over this one so many times. Have any questions for you, Jesse? Yeah, we have just so many things facing us right now. We have 134 million in unfunded capital projects, and includes basic infrastructure like the North River water pipeline, one of our primary sources that's over its projected lifespan on that. It specifically doesn't include what's happening in the wharf that we know we need to fund. And we know that the study for that, not the study, the design for that is going to be $360,000 alone, let alone how much it costs to fix something like that. That falls on us. And 91 puts us in the bottom 25%. So 3/4 of cities have a higher real estate tax rate than us and more expensive real estate than we have. We're trying to keep Staunton affordable, and I think we're doing that with this rate on that. We have a lower property tax rate than almost any of them as well too. So we're and keeping our citizens in mind. I think it's irresponsible to move forward with anything that doesn't fund basic infrastructure needs that we know we have going and that we have been put off for so long.
I'll just add, you mentioned the design fees for what we know we need to replace tunnel wise and the public right away down by the wharf. A planning level rule of thumb can be your design is 10% of your total cost. That's an industry ballpark estimate. So that gives you an order of magnitude of what we could be looking at.
Just I guess a question for either you or the city manager. The 360,000 for the design, is that in the current budget and already allocated funds, or?
I'll let Ms. Moyers
No.
address that.
We are using funds from the Stormwater Fund. The estimate that we were given that we built the budget on last year for the flood plan was 350,000, and that plan came in at 135,000. So that difference there is going to fund the majority of the design for the tunnel work, and then the rest is being pulled from the stormwater funds, the budget that they have. Made possible in part by the increase in the stormwater rates this year.
I appreciate the work and the effort that everybody on staff that is involved in this, the department heads working on their budgets with Jesse and Leslie and going over it with a fine tooth comb. It seems it starts at one place and then it comes to this. It comes a long way, and there are a lot of discussions, soul searching, a lot of discussions, a lot of reading, a lot of research, a lot of comparisons. At the end of the day, our responsibility is to take care of the city, but we also have, and then being mindful of the citizens who live here. And I said this 2 weeks ago, that I believe we need to fund the city. I don't want to put my head in the sand and pretend these things will go away if I don't see them. At the same time, I said I want all of us, and I know we are, to be mindful of supporting the most vulnerable in our city. And so that I hope that we will continue to do that by funding organizations that do serve the most vulnerable of our city. But I think that's our job. That's what we're meant to do, is to take care of our infrastructure, keep the lights on, and keep employees paid. And I don't like to raise taxes on anybody, but I saw the need for it based on all the research based on everything that you all presented to us. So I appreciate that. It's not a comfortable position to be in at all. But thank you all for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and taking into consideration all the things that, we will or face or come against as the city, but also we look out for the citizens of the city also. We know these things aren't going away. We know that the infrastructure is needs in there, and we want to be proactive and look towards the future with having a reserve for those things. But at a time of uncertainty, also to put on the citizens, also we have to look at that too. The city is running, and there's infrastructure needs. There CIP's plans that hadn't been funded. Will they still be funded next year? Probably not. But it's a balance. So today my balance is not causing the citizens any more and raising the tax 2 cents. I propose 1 cent on the tax rate. I do that by having a balance with our citizens and the city needs. So.
I agree with that. do see the need to make investments for the future. I appreciate the work of the city staff to identify all the needs. It's important to identify them, and it's important to make the requisite investments to be prepared to meet the future needs of residents. It's not a question of being prepared to put the resources to meet those needs. It's how much at one time I think we're prepared to put on the shoulders of the residents. And when even looking, if this were a level tax rate increase, that would mean an average annual tax increase burden for real estate of our residents of 12.4% over the last 3 years. And I just think that's a lot. It's even more than that if we go up to 91 cents. And so I agree that I think a reasonable compromise would be to go to 90 cents and then consider another bump next year as needed. We want to make the needed investments of the city. We want to ask our citizens to step up as necessary to fund those improvements. But to ask them to do it's just a question of how much at one time. And so I think to spread it out a little bit, to have more incremental increases and to make this a 90-cent increase would be more reasonable. There are other revenue sources that we can tap. There is I see that Augusta County is poised to raise their cigarette tax from 30 to 40 cents. We're at 30 cents now. That could potentially yield another 100,000 if we were to follow suit. That's something that we could consider this year. We could simply bump our real estate tax rate another cent next year. But the context, as Councilor Woods has mentioned, is there's a significant proportion of our population that is really income and resource constrained. The sort of gold standard for identifying people who with constraints is Alice, not named after our counselor, but it's asset limited, income constrained, employed. These are people who are working, but are working in industries where they make more than the federal poverty standard, but they cannot afford basics where they live. And in Staunton, the percentage of our residents who fall in that category, who fall below the ALICE standard, so they cannot afford the basics, 46%. 46% of our residents fall in that standard. See, one gentleman in the audience is raising his hand. That number, by the way, in Augusta County is 40%, and Rockingham County is 37%. So we fare somewhat worse than some of our neighbors in that respect. So in view of that, and recognizing the limitations that and the burdens that many of our residents face, and just wanting to sort of spread the load over a period of time is why I would recommend, and in recognition of the other goal that we have of affordable housing. We have this goal to try to make housing more affordable in Staunton, both for renters and for homeowners. And this will make that more difficult. We have one of our goals is responsive, efficient government. And I think, to being responsive to our residents and the needs of our residents, and respect some of their challenges, it's reasonable and responsive to set a rate of 90 cents. And so I'd like to offer a motion. I move to adopt a proposed ordinance with a fixed real estate tax rate at 90 cents per 100 of assessed value of such property per year, establishing and approving a budget for the city of Staunton for fiscal year 2026, totaling $163,878,759, and fixing other tax rates and fees as proposed, advertised, and considered for public hearing, and adopt the fiscal year 2026-2030 capital improvement plan as presented. And it simply reduces by 1 cent, 300 some odd thousand, the revenue for additional infrastructure. That's the difference.
Is there a second?
I'll second. And one of the things too is, I'll go ahead and second and let it finish before I make a comment. Should I do that? Or can I make a comment and second at the same time?
We're gonna have
Well,
discussion.
I think the mayor should just summarize the motion made, and then you can speak as
Okay.
the motion second.
Okay, so to summarize what Counselor Oberholzer is saying, which is very eloquent, thank you, Counselor Oberholzer, is that he would like to propose a lower tax rate, 90 cents to the dollar. And he would like to lower the revenues and lower the expenditures just in the revenue fund.
It would be the
the
transfer.
the transfer to the CIP
From the general fund that
from
was
the
going to go
general
to the
fund.
infrastructure project, correct?
It fully funds all operating expenditures exactly as you just presented, the police fund, all the other things. The only difference is the amount.
Right.
That would be
no,
from 657 to about 328.
657 to
Additional for
328.
infrastructure. And this represents a increase of 89 to 90 instead of from 89 to 91.
So our infrastructure fund, our starting infrastructure fund, would go from 657,000, which would be our seed fund to cover a lot of our infrastructure needs. And it would go down to the 1 cent, which is $328,000.
Yes.
And Counselor Woods, you wanted to add?
Well, he already said that it's still, the budget will still fund. And for those that are thinking about the Stanton City Schools, the Stanton City Schools is still being fully funded through this budget as well. So it's not taking away anything from the school system.
Is there any further discussion?
I'll just add that I expressed my opinion last week at our work session, but I can see this for the short term. It's a balancing act. I fully am aware of the burden we're placing on our residents for the short term. I just think 91, I appreciate our city manager and our city CFO. They've laid out a plan to come up with an additional funding source to address our many infrastructure needs. If this was a one and done situation with the wharfs, sure. But just with the amount of needs we have, we're catching up to the curve of being too affordable for how many needs we have. We are still affordable with this, looking at the grand scheme of things in the state. And I support the plan put in place to actually stop kicking the can down the road and start addressing some of these needs.
There's a balance between affordable and irresponsible, certainly. And many of our neighbors, Roanoke has $1.20, I believe is their rate. Others that Stanton has been as high as $1.10 in years past. 89 was an all-time low in response to a situation 2 years ago on that. So 91 is still very low, and as I said before, puts us where 3/4 of cities are higher than us just in that. So I go ahead.
So as you see from 2 years ago that we was at the same crossroads, from 92, we knocked it down to 89. Now we're 2 years later and the assessments went up again. And now we want to take it back up to 91. And I know you're saying a penny and $300,000, but the budget is still the same. It's just the revenue source that's going where it needs to go is just a penny. And we already have found some extra funding that we can use if we need it. And it's already in there. It's already laid out. It was $720,000 for the adopted light that can be utilized. And we also have $1 million from the sale of Stanton Crossing. It's not like we're being irresponsible with funding, but it's there. So it's called the balance.
Balance that against 134 million in unfunded capital projects, not including.
We're not going to get to $134 million with the 2 cents.
That's true.
That's not even going to dip into that. And I understand what you're saying, but we still going to have to take out bonds. And if anything happens at the wharf, we still going to need a bond for that.
Gonna have to pay for that bond.
We got 328,000 plus 720,000 plus $1 million.
300 acres.
It's there. It's there. Without going full throttle and see what all of this is going to cost, then next year have it analyzed and then we can go from there. We don't know what next year is going to hold. We don't even know what tomorrow is going to hold. We don't know what 6 months is going to hold. I mean, I understand for infrastructure and for our citizens.
I'll definitely give you that. We don't know what tomorrow is going to hold, but we do know for the past couple of years, we are required by the state, every locality is, to have a capital improvement plan laying out 5 years of capital needs that we have not funded up front. How long, Jesse?
Since COVID, I think.
We're basically, these are the most critical needs for a 5-year plan that we're saying, well, let's wait and see if we have enough carryover revenue to fund it. And things get prioritized, things get kicked back. This gives us an opportunity to get back on track of addressing our capital infrastructure needs.
1 cent? $328,000.
You can make the same argument of 1 cent. Is it saving?
We
is it
also
actually doing anything?
We
for
also
people
have 300 acres and a water tower going up.
with no
Doesn't help
incoming revenue.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. It was the same argument I made, it was my thinking as well. And I look 2 years ahead and I think, okay, in 2 years, what are we going to keep saying? We just can't afford it. We can't afford it. We can't afford it because we failed to save. I mean, it's just like your house, you have to save because your roof is going to, someday you're going to have to fix your roof and you're going to have to fix the things that are broken in the pipes, and you have to save for those needs. And putting them off and putting them off and putting them off just makes it worse. I mean, I'm sorry to use this analogy, but makes it worse and then ends up costing more in the long run. I see your argument, and but I also see that, just Adam pointed out that it's just continues to be unfunded, and putting it off is in the long run going to cost more. It is going to cost people more. We'll have to raise taxes higher to pay for, the things that we should have been saving all along. We should have been saving all along.
And I'll just note, we are across the board, not just real estate tax. All of our taxes, all of our service
All of our
fees are in the
taxes are low.
lower 25th percentile
Yes.
in states, or all for 38 cities in Virginia. Last year, we raised the sewer water fees and the stormwater fee to help get to where we need to be, but that was an incremental increase. We don't have the money in any of those funds to cover our expenses. So it's more than the real estate tax. It's a lot more than just the real estate tax.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that we're relatively affordable compared to other cities and counties in Virginia now. It's just, and I wouldn't characterize going to 90 as kicking the can down the road. It's just a question of spreading out the rate of increase. This would be about a 16% increase at one time for residents. And one thing that resonate me with some of the things I heard from residents, we support doing what you can. We support providing the resources to the city that it needs to provide a safe and strong city and to build for the future, but be reasonable about it. Another resident said, I just came from the state. He said, I've just been stunned by the assessment increases of the last few years. I wasn't expecting this, moving from Maryland, was have a fairly metro area in Maryland, to here. I didn't expect big bumps in a place like this. And she pointed out that where she was from, that there are statutory limits on how much taxes could be increased in a year. So I mean, I think that principle is a good one and a reasonable one. And just acknowledging, yes, overall, we're affordable compared to other city and county localities, but it's a question of how much do you want to put on the backs of the residents at one time? And I'd be prepared to go up another cent next year. I'd be prepared to increase the utility fees. I think as we, the long-term intention was to catch up and to increase those utility fees next year. I think that's reasonable. It's just a question of how much at one time. And so that's why I'm saying 1 cent instead of 2 cents.
I made clear my opinion last week as well. But I think personally, it's more reasonable to be proactive rather than reactive. And we literally just, when we started our meeting had, forgive me if I misspeak on her title, but the director of the VDH basically saying that they're just with already their $3 million loss, that they can, for right now, can maintain essential services. But if anything else happens, that she'll be reaching out to us. I mean, so when we know that those things are falling through, we just know it's happening. So again, it's not just the wharf. I think there's just so many more things, and we just need to, I think as homeowners and the citizens I've talked to and gotten emails from, they also just want a sense of some stability. Like if it's going to be 91 cents, fine, but not this back and forth every year. Like, you know, and most people, again, that I've talked to and heard from and reached out to are supportive of the 91 cents, knowing again that it's not just the wharf. There's just so many things happening now that we don't know, you know, and we need to be able to react to as a city in the best interest of our citizens.
There's a motion.
Right now, there are a tremendous amount of unknowns. We can't necessarily depend on federal funds. We don't know what we can depend on state-wise or federal-wise. I mean, look what we just went through with the roundabout. That went a roundabout. I think that to Adam's point, I think there is, you know, there's an old story about a town with a duck pond, that there was a guy that used to collect the leaves from a duck pond and keep the leaves out of the duck pond, and they've decided to get rid of the guy that collected the leaves. And then the next thing you know, the entire duck pond filled with leaves, and it was filled with mold, and it started to stink, and it was awful. And then the city said, oh my gosh, we need to get the duck pond guy back, so let's hire him. So they hired him back, and they said, oh, let's never get rid of the guy that cleans the leaves out of the duck pond again. I think we can learn from that, in that the city has neglected infrastructure for years and years, and we do need to address those needs. That money has to come from someplace. Unfortunately, 46% of the citizens in our community can't afford to pay more. And that's unfortunate. But there's a percentage in this city that can afford to pay quite a bit more. I think I would lean towards and I've really struggled with this. Mayor Edwards told me this when I came on board, that this was going to be a very difficult task and a very difficult decision to make. And I've talked to a lot of people in the last 2 weeks, and they've been on both sides. And I feel like it's in the best interest of the entire community as a whole to go to 91 cents. I feel like it's important to do because there are things that have to be funded. We just have to. And we also need to take the measures. We need to raise the cigarette tax. We need to raise the lodging tax. We need to do an occupancy tax. There's a lot of things that we need to do. I think there's a lot of other ways that we can bring revenue in. But I think it is, unfortunately, the assessments were higher, which benefit people in some ways, but hurt people in other ways. If you're selling your house, it's wonderful. If you're living in it, not necessarily. But I do think we have a responsibility to our citizens to provide clean water and basic infrastructure needs. And the only way we're going to be able to pay for that is, unfortunately, through tax revenue in this budget cycle.
Everybody's been heard. What's next? What's in?
I'll entertain a motion.
There's a motion
Have
on.
a
There's
motion.
a
There's
motion.
a
and a second on
motion.
the-
So you had a second.
Right, so you have to call a roll and then that,
Is there, so you made a second. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Kessiker, would you please call?
Ms. Park.
I just want to make sure this is for Jeff's motion.
Jeff's
For
motion.
Jeff's
Correct.
motion.
Yeah, the 90-cent motion. Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
No.
Mr. Shepherd.
No.
Ms. Woods.
aye.
Mr. Campbell.
Yay.
Mr. Overholzer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood.
No.
Mayor Edwards.
No.
Motion fails.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Edwards, I move to adopt the FY 2026 budget ordinance as presented, establishing and approving a budget for the city of Staunton for fiscal year 2026 totaling $1,164,535,789 and fixing other tax rates and fees as proposed, advertised and considered for public hearing, and to adopt the FY 2026 to 2030 capital improvement plan as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Kessiker, would you
I,
please? Sorry.
yeah, I'm weighing whether, just thinking about,
That's right.
I'm gonna support this. I do support investing in the future of the city. I think it would have been better to make a more incremental, a smaller step on increasing the tax, but I think the budget has needed components. It's going to move the city forward. I'm going to support it.
Mr. Campbell.
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
Ms. Woods.
No.
Mr. Overholzer.
Aye.
Ms. Park.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Arrowood.
Aye.
Mayor Edwards.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Kessiker. Thank you, everyone, for your discussion. That was, it's never an easy discussion, and appreciate everyone's honesty. And thank you so much. We are going to move to the matters from the city manager. Ms. Beauregard, do you have anything you'd like to share with us this evening?
Yes, ma'am. I have a few things to share. One is an update on trash and yard debris. So we are working on bulky brush pickup. That is the annual collection of large yard debris. It's taking a little bit longer than expected, but is wrapping up this week. So we want to thank everybody for their patience and cooperation throughout the process. Public Works is also continuing to make trash bin size exchanges, ensuring that all residential customers outside the central business district have the correct city-issued bin. And if you have questions or still need assistance, please don't hesitate to call Public Works. Speaking of yard waste bins will begin arriving in May for customers who signed up in advance. The first scheduled pickup for those bins will be Wednesday, June 4th. And in the meantime, if you have some yard waste, you are more than welcome to bag that yard waste and place it in your new regular trash bin. But if you can hold on to your yard waste until your yard bin arrives, it will help ensure that it goes to the brush pile instead of the active landfill. And if you would like to sign up for a yard waste bin, you can do that on the city website or by calling Public Works. Continuing with the Public Works theme, paving is starting. It's spring, so that means paving. The large-scale State of Good Repair paving project continues. Over the last 2 weeks, contractors have milled and repaved portions of West Beverly, New Street, West Frederick, and Jefferson Streets. Temporary pavement markings will be applied tomorrow, Friday, with permanent markings scheduled for May 1st. The city's annual spring paving program will kick off next Wednesday, April 30th. Over the following several weeks, 10 additional streets will be milled and repaved, beginning with Reaper Road and Shutterley Mill Road. Advanced warning cones will be placed before work begins on each street to alert drivers and nearby residents. A full press release listing all streets is scheduled tomorrow to be posted tomorrow into the city's website. And that's all I have this evening, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Beauregard. We now come to the part of the City Council's agenda entitled Matters from the Public. It is a time that council sets aside to hear from citizens and others about a wide variety of subjects. A copy of Stanton City Council's Matters from the Public rules are available in paper form at the clerk's desk and online on the City of Stanton's webpage. You are asked to familiarize yourself with those rules before commenting. Please come to the podium or begin your call, identify yourself, and complete your remarks within 5 minutes. As a reminder, this is a time for City Council to listen. If you would like an answer to a question or a follow-up to your comment, please speak with the City Manager, Leslie Beauregard, following the meeting. If you'd like to speak, please come to the podium. Good evening. Ms. Birch?
Constance Birch, 319 Mary Gray Lane. Thank you, Mayor, Councilmen, and women. Stanton needs more money. I think you'll agree that increase in utilities is really just another tax on residents and businesses. Someone who knows that I come to city council meetings suggested that the city try to make some money from the festivals here. I don't know what they call the Harry Potter. I know you had to change the name. Happy birthday. These festivals could bring in money to the city, and I know they bring in money to merchants, but I don't know if the city actually gets any revenue from them. I don't know why the baseball only pays $1 for the use of Moxie Field. I hope they contribute to the upkeep of it. But I think you'll agree that there's more income revenues needed. Certainly the syntax that a cigarette tax would be included. When doing the budget, it was commented on that we have a high rate of insurance claims, healthcare claims. Some industries work hard to keep their incidence of accidents and injuries low. I don't have any idea, except that's probably Public Works, where our high health insurance claims come from. But if there would be a way to concentrate on reducing that, that would certainly reduce our expenses. The new trash system. In my opinion, one of the largest problems in the environment is plastic. I used to put my yard trash into an open bin, which could be just dumped into the truck. But now I believe it has, I agree completely in separating the yard trash from your kitchen trash. But I believe that you're required to put your yard trash in a plastic bag. And so that's working against the environment. You're going to have a place where you have only yard trash, which decomposes quicker. But the plastic that it's in doesn't decompose. You know, it has a long half-life or whatever that is. I don't know what the answer is to that. I've got quite a bit of yard trash waiting in my shed now to put out, but I'm not going to get a yard trash bin because you have to get the large weekly bin, and I can hardly manage. I've told you before, I'm an old lady, I'm 86 years old, and I have trouble managing the smaller of the ones. So I'm certainly not going to be able to manage that large one. I know you're only supposed to speak about one thing at a time, but let me say, I covered the plastic, the yard. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Birch. Is there anyone online, Mr. Kissinger?
We have no hands raised on Zoom.
All right, thank you.
I know you have missed me. I haven't been at the microphone in
I
so long.
know.
I want to say thank you again for the proclamation earlier, and I was remiss when I thanked the city council. I did not thank our wonderful sheriff and the courts. They're going to put a barrel in the courthouse to collect food also. So I wanted to thank them. And I'm sure I missed a million other people helping with the drive, but thank you. I did want to come up and lobby, as the last speaker did, for allowing us to have a small trash can for the yard waste, because for the exact same reasons I can't have the big can for my regular waste, I can't have the big can for my little waste, you know, for the yard waste. So if we could figure that out somehow, then I would happily pay my $50 and participate in the yard waste program. There's a lot of mention around town about the cans not being lifted by the lifters. And I think that brouhaha is going to bubble more. And so maybe we can get that figured out, because that's why we spent the big bucks, right? Is to get rid of the workman's comp costs. And I always like to do a thank you sandwich. So thank you for the food drive. And then thank you so much for voting to invest in our city. It's much appreciated. I know I'm one of the many citizens that wrote in favor of doing the 0.9 and the budget that went with it and investing in our city. We want to go forward, and we'll continue to help the most vulnerable. I think you all know how much they matter to me. So we'll keep doing that together as a city, but I wanted to thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Ms. Connors. Mr. Kissinger, anyone online?
No, ma'am, we have no hands raised.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Karen Russ, 220 Biltmore Street. I'm not here to complain. I meant to write you an email so you'd have my guidance when you were planning the budget, but I didn't get around to it, and I do apologize. I'll be very brief. I really appreciate watching the discussion that you've done. I can see that you are all bringing your best effort to run the city, and I really do appreciate it. I would have been okay if you'd settled on 90 cents or 91 cents, but I'm happy you settled on 91 cents. One thing I'd point out to you is that we are in a time of great economic uncertainty, and also a time when we are looking at a probable lack of support from the federal government. I don't know what the situation is going to be with the state government. And we got to learn to pay for ourselves. I have lived in a number of places that had very depressed economies and went through recessions. And a robust public sector is going to help you. A good public school system is going to help you if things get bad. Maintaining public employment is going to help you if things get bad. It's not going to be easy to do, but the more you can support the public sector in hard times, I think the better standard of living that people are going to have. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Ms. Russ. Mr. Kesker, anyone on Zoom?
We have no hands raised on Zoom.
We have any speakers would like to approach? All righty, then I will call this meeting of the Staunton City Council adjourned.